Hello folks, and welcome back to part 2 of the Grand Summer plot tour. If you haven't already seen part 1, there should be a little link coming out up here and also in the show note descriptions where you can catch up and see what's been happening already. In the meantime, let's check out what's happening in the Brassica cage. This is the Brassica bed, and it's a bit of a mixed fortune in here. As you know, right along the back I've got Brussels sprouts, and I've had one or two fail, but in general them are doing okay. This bed here was mainly calabrese broccoli, and unfortunately quite a lot of this went to seed while I was away on holiday and missed it. What I will do is chop the top off, put the little cross in, and hopefully gain a few more florets in here. A few spaces I had down the front, I've added a couple of kohlrabi. There's some red and both green along there, and hopefully that's going to give us a bit more cropping at the moment. But say, regarding the calabrese, I missed it. Never mind, let's move on to the next one. In the middle here, this is primarily cabbage, and it's going like haywire. There's some actually ready for picking. A few mixed varieties here. I'll put the names along the bottom, and also in the middle there I think there might be a few Celeriac as well, not sure, but all in all this bed's doing quite good. Let's move over now to the final bed, which are the cauliflowers. So as I said, these are the cauliflowers. Not much to say about them really. Primarily these are Clapton. They had a bit of a slow start, almost a stunted growth, but they seem to have picked up, and there's one or two heads actually showing now, so another couple of weeks we should be harvesting. This is my potato compound. Not grown as many as usual, but even so, there was 4 buckets of first early, the Swift, which you've probably seen earlier on. I had a really good crop out of those. These ones here which have gone yellow are 12 buckets of Charlotte. Now in the compost, in the mix, there's like this wheat or something. I don't know whether that's checked the growth or something, but the foliage is gone. I think I've got something like a bit of early blight or some specks or something, but I don't think that's going to harm the crop at all. So I'll be ready to harvest these in probably next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm just actually finishing the first earlies off. And bringing up the rear, on the back of here is 4 buckets of Sour Palmyra. Them seem to be doing fine. The Charlottes in the middle here I think may have suffered a little bit of drought, gone dry during the hot spell we had. But I've given them a good water, checked the soil underneath, it's still damp now. Unfortunately, I'll cover the tops of all these with straw because that does keep the moisture in. However, we will see later on when we harvest them. In this bed I've got 3 different crops. Right at the very front I've got my parsnips. There's 32 stations, and fortunately everyone's germinated. Well, there's 1 or 2 lagging behind the others, but not to worry. Variety is the usual, the Gladiator, and I've done a bit of weeding, thinned them out to 1 plant per station, although the collars are still on. I did remember this year I've split the collars, so if they do get jammed a bit I can get the collar off quite easy. Now in the middle I've got some Swede. That's a bit of half-hearted attempt. I did sow them all in a drill, and there's 1 or 2 gaps where I think the foxes dug them out, although remembering now within the Brassica bed there's some Swedes I planted and I did them in cells, so they should be okay. And right at the very front are the Celeriac. There's 1, 2, 3, 12 different plants, and them are just starting to bulk up now. Once I get a decent size and start to form the ball, I'll be removing the bottom leaves off, let the airflow get to them, and they seem to do okay. Now moving on to this bed, it's me peas, and these are my usual variety called Hearst Green Shaft. There's 3 successional sowings here. This is the first one obviously. As you can see, there's peas more or less within the next few days will be ready to harvest. The one in the middle, that's probably 2 or 3 weeks behind, and there's just a little row at the front, and again that's 3 or 4 weeks behind that. I did build these frames here this year, and that has helped quite a lot, and I'll be obviously using them again next year and the year after. And right at the very front is the celery, and I think that's the Latham self-blanching. That's really bulked up now. I did have concerns with the hot weather that it would dry out, but So I dug loads of manure into the bottom of the trench before I planted, and having a field down below the soil level that's still quite wet. It's nice and green, the foliages, and it's just starting to thicken up, so that's looking good. Just spin round here and we've got the beans. These are the runner beans, and this variety is called the Benchmaster. I grow this one every year. The flowers are just coming on now, plenty of flowers, spaced out a bit wider than normal. And right in the middle of here are some French beans, the ones called Pongo, which I had from Bill and Val. They kindly sent me. There's about 4 or 5 plants, and I'm ramping along the bottom of here. Plenty of flowers on. You probably won't see them at the moment. I might pop the camera in a bit later on and say them are doing okay. So all in all, I need to probably chop the tops off of these now, but the beans looking good as well. Let's pop into the greenhouse. Here in the allotment greenhouse, everything's flourishing. Saying that, I've got hills everywhere, the moles in here as well, so it's getting right pain. Looking at the stuff in the pots, the AUTOPOTs, I've got the tomatoes in here, there's the Crimson Crush, and on the side here are the couple of Sweet Millions. Over on this side here, we've got the Crimson Cherry, the Rose Crush, Crimson Crush again. These are all AUTOPOTs. Back in the rear here, we've got the QUADGROWs, and they're housing all the cucumbers. These mini munch, I'm just romping away. I'm getting 2 or 3 off every day. There's probably, I don't know how long there are many here. There's at least 7 or 8 ready to come off now. And if you've never grown these, a cucumber, probably the easiest one to grow. And they produce fruits that size, but they're very prolific, and you'll be fetching 2 or 3 off a day. So that's the cucumbers. Dotted around the borders here, I've got various peppers. Most of them seem to be in flower. In fact, some have got some fruits on. And you might notice these in front of me. I've got some dwarf sunflowers. Them are in the pot to go. But looking at these aubergines, never ever grown these before. I was going to put them in a wicking system, which I've half built. Very, very similar, well, more or less the same as the one I've got in the greenhouse for the peppers. So I'm going to do those in that for next year, but this year I'm not sure whether to keep these in these pots or maybe plant them out. As I say, I've never grown aubergine before, so it's going to be interesting. And just in the front there, I've got some cannas. So that's the greenhouse state of play on the allotment. Just nip out and we'll go and have a look at the fruit trees. These here are my autumn fruiting raspberries called Autumn Bliss. They're currently in pots, but I have got a plan for these, this area in general, and you'll probably see a bit more of that in the next video also. Let's go and have a look at the cherries. I'm underneath the foliage of the cherry tree, and surprisingly, quite a few of them have turned red and the birds still haven't taken them. So I'm going to be out here a bit later on with the tub and collect what I can. It's a really good crop this year. I don't know if you can see that on that branch there. That's got actually loads and loads of cherries. Some of them are just turning, and right at the top there's some very red ones. As I said, so I'm going to come out a bit later on with the tub and try and bait the birds. Let's have a look at the other fruit trees. As expected, the strawberries hit maximum yield while I was away on holiday. But fortunately my daughter was there and collected a good 4 or 5 punnets. If I've got the photographs, I'll pop them in. This is me Agrement russet tree, and very, very happy this year with the crop. Last year it didn't do too good. It had a few apples on, but lost most of them, either to pest or they dropped off. But looking at this year, there's quite a few clumps and I'm just starting to swell up. So really looking forward to that. Bit of a different story though with the pear tree. As I said, it's a bit of a different story with the pear tree. At the beginning of the season, this tree was absolutely laden with blossom, and I was hoping for quite a lot of fruit off it. But it wasn't until my neighbouring plot holder asked me how the pear tree was going, saying that he'd actually lost all the fruit off his. And when I looked on here, I had a good look round. There's not a pear to be seen. Don't know where they've all gone. I know we have the June drop, but it's actually dropped a lot. I don't know whether the birds have taken them or what, but there's not one pear on there. It's very, very disappointing. Not to worry, let's move on to the final tree, which is the Golden Delicious. As you can see, this is more than made up for the pears. In fact, I'm a bit concerned there's too much fruit on here. I've never ever seen so many apples on. Just masses here and there. Although I can actually see a bit of codling moth damage in quite a few of them. Nonetheless, I'm looking for a good crop from here, and it is again a nice apple, Golden Delicious. Well, that just about brings this tour of the plot to an end, but not quite finished yet. I'm going to take you around and show you what's happening in my garden. You can see the border's done quite well, although we've had quite a few high winds just lately, and it's given the plants a battering. This here is a lovely rose called Silver Wedding. Needs deadheading and that, but it's knocked the petals about. Got a few Alströmera ready to come up, Eucharas. The alliums have already done their job. You may remember the story of the little maple there. Hopefully I've repotted that. May get it come back next year, fingers crossed. But the other two seem to be doing okay. And there's one or two irises really just about popping up. Them seem a bit late. Let's move over and have a look at some of the baskets over here. This is one of the hanging baskets. It's the begonia from the tubers. I bought these from the market, and I've got 4 in round baskets and 2 troughs based on the conservatory. Behind there I've got a little tomato in a basket doing well. That's called Tumbler. I'll just quickly show you. As you can see, plenty of fruit on here. All these baskets are on an auto watering system. It comes on twice a day for 2 minutes, and then I do actually feed them separately with liquid seaweed once a week. I'll just show you around the border. These are the wall baskets, again a mixed variety of begonias. Got a couple of lilies ready to come out. A sunflower there already, dwarf one. Another tomato here. This is another one of those called Summerlast, which is supposed to be a patio. As you can see, it's in a pot. Plenty of fruit on it. Another wall basket of mixed begonias. Another sunflower. And another Summerlast tomato. These have really impressed me. These I'll probably grow these again next year. It's only in about a 10-inch clay pot, but it's on auto watering. Just move along here. This is another Summerlast again. Then we go back up to the baskets. In this corner of the garden, quite a while back I did a review of these planters I got from the British Garden Centre. I was doing the deal on. I've not got the tops on there. In fact, I dropped them in the crack, but not to worry. Still really good planters. And in here I've got a mixture of lettuce. I think these are the Navara and Smile, elk leaf type. In the middle I've got some young ramrod spring onions and some Webb's Wonderful, I think, and various different lettuces. On the front here is a peony, which ain't flowered yet, but not to worry. Moving along farther along the border, we've got one of my big hostas. I'll probably cut that down the end of the winter, thin it out. In fact, it's just starting flowering there, if you can see. And right the way along here, sunflower, some things give that a battering. Just started to flower, not sure what it is. Got more roses coming into bud. That's their second flourish. And right the way along here, there's more hostas. Poppies, more roses. The alliums, they've done their best again. Really good show for them. More roses. Got foxglove in here. This is self-seeded. And right along the top, the delphiniums. They usually give a really good show. And again, the wind and rain gives them a battering, but not to worry. So that's about it for my tour for this year. I may give you one at the end of the autumn, I don't know, but that's about it. Thanks for watching again. Thanks for coming back to the channel. Hello to all the new and old subscribers. See you in the next one. Bye for now. Ta-ra.